Laguna Seca has long been the playground for West Coast sports car owners. For our drivers, though, it's not just about individual hot lapping fun, but the thrill of competition. That's why today they kick off their first ever season of a brand new series. We'll get to continue to enjoy the thrills of racing, even from the virtual world, as we get ready to watch round one of the Porsche Owners Club eRacing League. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ryan Jones. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. Not far from the Pacific Ocean, this is a beautiful spot for motorsport. To see what we mean, why don't we take you down for a look at our track guide? Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come. Love the views around this track. I'd love to get to visit it in person eventually. And, well, Ryan, I'm pretty sure you haven't seen this place personally either, but you at least have the details for us.
I do. I think visiting it in person is going to be a much easier task for you than it is for me. And this track, 11 turns in length, 2.2 miles, 3.6 kilometers. A very good track. One of the free tracks to the iRacing service when you first sign up. So it's one of the race tracks that a lot of people, if not most or all, have driven on iRacing. And it's a very good track. Turn 2 is one of the best passing opportunities on the circuit. Other passing opportunities occur at turn 11. And turn 10 if you're brave as well. The corkscrew, the famous corkscrew at Laguna Seca, a 5-story drop, is one of the most famous corners in the world. And that's going to be both a danger spot and a action zone today. Make sure you keep an eye out on that place.
Certainly will try to. It tends to give us some good fun as most of these races go on. But before we get to the racing itself, let's talk to you about our sponsors. This race is brought to you by Octavio Tequila. Octavio Tequila, celebrate now. It is also brought to you by Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. Check out Century Financial Consultants. Now, this race today is a new series, so we'll naturally have new viewers. And Ryan, why don't you run down the race details of what the drivers are up against?
Well, this is the inaugural season for the Porsche Owners Club Sim Racing Series, so it's just 4 rounds in length, running the Porsche 718 GT4 Clubsport, which is a new car to the iRacing service, introduced just a couple seasons ago. A 30-minute race ahead of us, so a very quick action-packed night. Open setups, which means drivers are able to tweak every little last adjustment to their car. Everything available to them in real life, available to them in the sim in terms of those adjustments. And a 20-minute qualifying session, which is currently underway, as of which there is about 5 minutes remaining.
Yep, so drivers are out there trying to get their qualifying laps in, and if we look through the timing tower of those qualifiers, well, there's some interesting names that are taking part in here. These are a lot of real life drivers that race in real Porsches, but because of the current world situation, aren't able to get out there. The one up at the top, well, none other than Colin Bloom. He's raced in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge as well as the Michelin Pilot Challenge out in the real world. So clearly that speed is translating here into the iRacing sim. As you can see, we've also got Wassell in second place, and I see Justin Krickensberger currently running in P4. Chris Wilson, another real world professional driver as well, who's done good to try and jump over to the virtual world. And he's actually, well, he was in fifth here for a second ride, but it looks like he's gotten bumped down to sixth.
He has, and there's about 40, 44, 45 drivers in this field. Doug Bocchione there in 37th in the bright green machine. Another cool thing with iRacing, Joe, that some of the new viewers might not be aware is you can put whatever paint you dream of on your car. So if these guys run around in real life with a paint job on their car, they can put it on iRacing with a bit of a Photoshop or other similar editing software and chuck it on iRacing, and you can put whatever you want on there. So expect to see some cool liveries out there as well today. You can also just run a plain white one if you want. Plus, you do get a small selection of default liveries that iRacing provide to you. So very much fully customizable is your iRacing experience.
Fantastic stuff. Connor Bloom going a little bit wide out of the final corner. Not sure that this lap is going to count for him. It's 29.6, stays put, and he unfortunately is put into the wall with a little bit of a problem there with another car in qualifying. Let's take a look at the weather too while we're at it. It's actually pretty ideal conditions, it looks like. Only 87 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface, so not too toasty out there. But one of the things I have noticed with this new GT4 Porsche is it seems like the tires are a big talking point, Ryan. I'm wondering if the drivers are going to have to work hard to try and get them up to ideal conditions before they can really push it.
Yeah, new tire model 7 on these cars, I believe, Joe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right.
I'm right. Okay, that's good. iRacing's in the process of adding them to every car in this service, and they're almost at that stage. And the Porsche is one of the ones that's got it already. And new tire model 7 is very realistic because cold tires, they are cold, and you feel that behind the wheel. And there's not much grip coming out of the pits, as we saw there. Krickenberger goes up to P2, just half a tenth off Bloom, who's still holding off that provisional pole with 2 minutes remaining. But yeah, cold tyres and warming them up going to be crucial here when we get underway. The first lap or so going to be really dicey for some of these drivers.
Certainly, and it's actually pretty tight with a few drivers here. I see Anderson and Wassell at 353 and the 124. They're third and fourth on the timing sheets. They're only 16 thousandths apart, as well as the number 28. That is actually Robert Mueller. Have a bit of an issue here with the timing and scoring, unfortunately, so you won't be able to see his name. But Robert in the number 28, if you can remember that number. Out there, actually, the owner of one of our sponsors here, Octavio Tequila, and clearly has got quite good pace under the hood of that car, sitting in fifth right now.
Right, Nicholas Anderson, another one with good pace, currently sitting fourth. Going to come across the start-finish stripe, and that lap time invalidated. In qualifying, if you run off track and leave the racing surface, you pick up a 1 times incident point, which invalidates your lap time, so it keeps it all nice and fair in qualifying.
Let's talk about those incident points as well, because even though it is a short race, and I hope we don't get anybody who reaches this limit, they have some penalties that get handed out. They get a stop and go if they hit 30 incidents, and then every 10 incidents after that, they get another stop and go, just to try to keep drivers from abusing the edges of the track around here. Obviously, it can still damage a car, and it is going to be slippery, but there's a few places where there's some paved runoff here at Laguna Seca, so just trying to keep things fair. So we watch the driver here in 33rd with Peter Kajowski coming across the line this last lap. Not going to be an improvement on his 35.8, and I think he's only going to get one more try at that.
Chris Siborowski in 32nd. Going to try to improve on what is a 35.67 so far, his fastest lap. It looks good for him. 33.895. Didn't quite see where that put him, but that's a big improvement for him. Connor Bloom, can he go fastest again? No, he can't. That one quite a way off the pace, but still 20 seconds till the checkered flag runs down, and they should have time to complete whatever lap they're on when that happens.
What about Shulam and the 371 as he crosses another invalidated lap? Seems like keeping within those track limits are being a bit of a struggle for a lot of drivers. Robert Mueller in the 35, another one with that problem as the flag now flies for 0, and the number 96 finds himself not improving, so he'll stay put in 31st. Jonathan Golden goes quicker. That's going to get him up to 25th that last lap. Let's see what Hayner can do from 37th. Does not improve once again. A lot of drivers giving a last gasp, but it's not offering much.
Jacob Abrams, can he find it? He can't as well. He's just 2/10 slower than his previous best. Ron Palmer's down at the pits there, so his session is done. What about Peter Kwiatkowski? Saw him put a lap in just before this one. Still not going to be quick enough. 10th off for him.
They are coming across the line quick. Nyhoff, 31.5. That's his fastest. And that's going to get him up to 20th. A nice job for him. Alan Stad looks like he does not improve. Believe that is everybody at this point.
Look at the lap he just put in up front. He's gone 4/10 quicker than his previous best. He's now got half a second over the field.
Wow. He is going to be a tough one to catch in that number 95. See a few cars still circulating, but as I said, I'm pretty certain that that is everybody across the line with the checkered flag from here on out. So that's going to settle our grid. Let's go through that starting order for today. Connor Bloom starting in the first position out there with Justin Krickenberger in second place. He's got a ways to make up, at least in qualifying pace. Maybe race pace will go better. Michael Wassell will start in third with Nick Anderson in P4. Then the number 28, Robert Mueller, starting in fifth. James McLaughlin starts P6 today. Colin Queen in P7 with Chris Wilson in the 8th position. Matthew Robinson starts 9th, and Nielsen Lawrence rounds out your top 10.
Starting this one from 11th place will be Rob Crocker. Michael Bolton starting from 12th. Don't quite know who that is starting from 13th place, excuse me, Joe. Jacob Abrams from 14th, Alan Stad, and Eric Oviat on row 8. Bayan Salahaya and Redding Bruns on row 9. Civic Fagirian and David Nyhoff running out your top 20.
Then in 21st, it's Scott Trieu, followed by Christopher Johnson in the 22nd position. Eric Walsh in 23rd, and Dustin Heindel will be starting P24. Quarter century mark goes to Michael Roban, with Jonathan Golden starting next to him. Then on the inside of the next row, it's Matt Rohana starting 27th, Peter Latier in 28th, and Jim Slavic in 29th. Tim Smith winds up in 30th, and I'll help you out on this next one, I think, in 31st. That is Matt Hollander.
Listen, thank you. Chris Siborowski starting 32nd, and Peter Kwiatkowski starting from 33rd. Paul Friedemann, Jeffrey Shalem, Ron Palmer on row 17 and 18. Fahey Atayan and Duck Bokinone in 37th, 38th. Alexandra Hayner and Lane McNeil 39th and 40th.
Last couple cars, looks like, I was wrong. It was not Robert Mueller that was the one I was looking for. He's 41st, Bill Vogel 42nd, and Christopher Owen, the last one there. I don't see them in the session, so that actually might not be drivers who are starting this race. We line up on the grid, waiting for the pace lap, behind appropriately the Porsche pace car that they will start behind. While we have the opportunity, want to remind you once again of our sponsors, starting off with Octavio Tequila. Again, Octavio Tequila, celebrate now is their motto. Make sure and give them a look along with Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. Huge thank you to both of them for helping contribute to make this broadcast possible. As we wait for them to take off now. This is going to be fascinating to watch, as we mentioned, with those professional drivers, along with a number of drivers who do have plenty of sim racing experience. I've seen some of them in here, Ryan, who've listed up to 20 years of sim racing experience. Others, I'm not exactly sure how long they've had. It does seem we have a few newcomers, but from covering this enough years, I get the feeling that it's not necessarily who's fast out on the real track. It's who's fast who's able to adapt to sim racing quickly, and who's got that experience in sim racing before.
Yeah, as much as they are alike, they are different in many aspects, motorsport and sim racing. I think there's a lot to transcend those differences in its simulation service, but I think the biggest factor for real drivers, guys like Connor Bloom, they don't have that seat of their pants feel out here on a sim, sat at home in a lounge chair or a coffee, in a whatever they've got, or a camping chair. You can't feel what the car's doing under you. You're relying on the force feedback through the wheel or even the pedals, depending on what wheel you've got, and that varies. Depending on the level of you got your low end, your high end wheels. So there's things to adapt to. You don't have that. It's very much a hand-eye coordination thing, and sometimes drivers just don't adapt to driving off a screen that well. We've seen it with many pro drivers. We've had issues, haven't we, Joe, across the many invitational events that have happened over the last few weeks and the last month or so. So it is. Don't expect, if you see someone who's fast in the real world, don't expect them to be fast in the sim.
Exactly. Yeah. Until they're able to really get a 6-point hydraulic rig or something at everybody's house, it's just too hard to try and simulate that real world G-forces feeling. But otherwise, iRacing does a great job at trying to mimic the real world as close as they possibly can. Let's see how close they'll mimic it for our drivers as the pace car is in and Bloom has control of the field. Waits for the green flag. He's going to hold them up a little bit. Now it flies as we accelerate away for the first round ever of our Porsche Club Series. The Porsche Owners Club eRacing League down into the Andretti hairpin for the first time. Bloom leading them into there and a little bit deep behind. It is very tightly packed all through the field in these GT4s, but so far so good.
They were all sorts of checked up and congested through there that time, but they've all made it through the first couple of corners without incident so far. Touch wood, there's a crash in the background. Someone's gone around. You can see it just at the back of the shot, but only a couple cars involved. So Connor Bloom holds a very comfortable margin as they head towards turn 6, and there's a move for one of the admins up the inside of Michael Lassell, trying to take away third spot on the racetrack, and look out for Colin Queen as well. And Lassell's going to lose out 2 spots in the price of 1 there.
I believe Chris Johnson and Rennie Bruins in the 824 were the 2 that are involved with that incident in turn 3. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Up at the front, Bloom continuing to extend that gap to about 1.3 seconds. I think Matthew Robinson has had an issue up at the corkscrew. He's turned the wrong direction. That's the 27 who's going to get going once again as well.
And a little bit further back, there's a bit of contact, and Alan Stad will go around on the outside of the penultimate corner, and he was battling for P14 when that happened, so a lot of drivers having a little bit of elbows out on this first lap. It was contact with Jacob Abrams that put him in that position, and he has to wait for everyone to go by him before he can find a safe spot to get himself pointed back the right way.
We'll look at the replay. This is on the 824, I think we're watching. Is that Bruins, I believe? There was someone off way wide there. Watching Alan Stad now. This is his issue coming through the tricky turn 10. Oh, he had some help.
He did. Abrams was on his inside there and just came together. It was just about exactly a car's width given, and unfortunately, slightest mishap between them.
And a few connection issues on top of it. Let's head up to Colin Queen, chasing the number 28. is one of our unfortunately named admin drivers, and I'm double checking to make sure that I've got the right. That is Robert Mueller out there. So that other Robert Mueller we see, unfortunately, must be a duplicate when he tried to get in under another name. He's been fighting hard for what is going to be the last podium position. Oh, but he's a bit wide coming out of Rainy Curve here.
A little bit wide, going to compromise him for the next corner as well, and into the final corner he might have to defend. Colin Queen shows the nose, goes late on the brakes, up the inside, takes it away. Looking for the crossover move though, Robert Mueller gets it back, gets the run, can't quite find an overlap, and Queen has the opportunity now to move it over and defend the inside line of turn 2, the hairpin of the double left-hander, going the long way around, and Mueller going to try.
Doesn't look like that's going to work out, as he's going to come back and can't even get the cutback. Wassel also had an off a little bit earlier. We don't need to go to the replay, but one of our front runners within, I believe, the top 5 or 6 spun off in a big way. Behind them, you can see cars pretty well still stacked up. There's so many out there that there's very few gaps. So we go to 6. Lawrence is being chased by the number 477 along with Rob Crocker.
Rob Crocker in there in 8th place, and Lawrence ahead of it as well. And this is a battle pack that might include Jacob Abrams if they start to go side by side and slow each other up as they come up into this very infamous corkscrew sector.
I'm looking through my notes to figure out who the 477 is. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing a 477 listed, so they're just going to have to be admin for today, unfortunately, as they all spread apart down the Rainy Curve. Heading back, we had a problem in the corkscrew once again. Walsh, and it looks like Matt Rohana.
Let's take a look at the replay here. And this was heading up into the corkscrew, late on the brakes, couldn't get it pulled up, and into the back of Rohana, who was pretty much an innocent bystander in that crash. And both of them off into the fence, and that's how easy it is to get it wrong up there at the corkscrew.
I guess that's one thing that all these club drivers are probably more appreciative of here in the virtual world, is there isn't the huge repair bill when you make a mistake like that.
No, there isn't. You haven't got to pay out for the hefty repairs of a Porsche machine, thankfully. In most cases, if you hit the wall in a big way, you can tow back to pits, which will cost you a couple minutes, but no repair bill to foot at least.
Down to 21st, Matthew Robinson and Jonathan Golden. Oh, and Golden's going to spin out just in front of some other cars who managed to sneak through. He's going to get it going, but he's having a bit of trouble trying to keep it out of the wall. Eventually, that Porsche GT4 works its way towards the pavement. We're going to watch to see what happened here. Not too much complicated about that. Just mid-corner, looks like that car worked its way around. Let's head back to Mueller and Queen up in 3rd and 4th, because they've swapped around yet again. Mueller now back to 3rd, but Queen's still on him as they climb up and over the crest of turn 1 down into the Andretti hairpin. Queen keeping him sized up, but he's not brave enough on the brakes. Looks like Mueller's going to be deeper, maybe too deep, as he sends it wide through the middle of the apex, and Queen can't get his nose underneath.
Mueller drove a very shallow line into the Andretti hairpin there to try to fend off any potential lunges from Queen, and these guys are battling 9 seconds off the lead of Connor Bloom. He's got 1.8 seconds over Krickenberger in 2nd, so it's all calm out there. Very close for 5th place behind them too. Flashing the lights is Lawrence as he tries to put some pressure on the back of McLaughlin in this battle. And if you get by, you might have a shot at the podium. Those two guys battling up just in front of him as well. So as we come up towards the corkscrew, does Lawrence go for the very brave bolt maneuver here? He's not, and I'm going to say thank goodness for that. But if he gets a good run through this final sector and look for a move potentially down at turn 2, you've really got to set up your moves and plan them out. You can't just go for a massive lunge because it's not going to work. So Right now, he'll be thinking about when he wants to make it happen. He'll be focusing on the exit from the final corner, but he's dropped quite a bit through those last two twisty sections of the track, and in fact, McLaughlin is starting to close up on the back of your P3 battle.
And that is going to be great for McLaughlin, but bad for Queen, as there's another car off. That's, well, the other Robert Mueller, I suppose, who is finding himself off the track. Meanwhile, Mueller has caught up with his own lap traffic. That's Alexandra Hain, who drifts off into the barriers, unfortunately.
It was a fun rejoin. Luckily, no one got picked off by that. Through into turn 6, and then into the kink. The kink is a very tough corner, isn't it, Joe?
Oh, it's the one that always ruins me a lot of the times. And right now, it looks like everybody's not going to have their race ruined there through this pack, because as you can see, McLaughlin still being chased by Lawrence, and the 477 also on their heels. Closes in a lot under braking, but loses it exiting out. In fact, Lawrence looks like he's going to be able to do something on McLaughlin as he puts it within a car length.
Right up behind him.
To the rear.
He's defending the inside, and Lawrence throws it the long way around. Can he hold the car there? That'll be a fantastic move if he does. He gets the exit he's looking for as well. They're going to run wheel to wheel down into the Andretti hairpin, but Lawrence on the wrong side of the track. He's got to be careful he doesn't lose out to the car behind as well. As I've just noticed, look at your timing screens there, Joe. Connor Bloom sitting in second.
Ooh, something must have happened when we weren't looking. This battle's still going on. We can't leave it for now, because inside of McLaughlin sneaks the 477, and he is going to get himself up to 6 with that move. So now that that's settled out, let me see if I can figure out when Bloom lost that spot. Checking to see if we can find it here. And if we can, we'll try and pull up the replay. That's significant considering the incredible pace that we've seen from him so far. Oh, it was, I think it was on the front stretch about a lap and a half ago. He ran into an unfortunate incident happening in front of him involving Latier and the number 35, Robert Mueller. So we're not going to be able to pull that replay up, unfortunately, as it looks like that one has escaped us. So your new leader, Krickenberger, in the number 72. Bloom is about 1.7 seconds behind. This is not over yet. He could still run him down, especially if he can still keep that pace.
Yeah, good news is that Bloom's escaped without too much harm to his pace, and he still looks fast. He was 2 seconds back. It's now 1.7, so he's definitely starting to run him down. Still 19 minutes remaining in the race, so plenty of time up his sleeve, and Bloom, the experience he has, won't be panicking at all. He'll be nice and calm and just focusing on slowly reeling Krickenberger in, who's going to have to do the drive of his life here to try and fend him off. The gap's already come back to 1.5 seconds now.
Oh, looks like we found that replay. Let's take a look at this. And this is the woes of a big field. When you come across that lap traffic, sometimes stuff like this happens.
Ooh.
Watch it
Lucky to escape that.
Got blindnesses too. Yeah. Oh, there's no way he could have seen that coming.
That stuff is straight out of a horror movie. You're leaving the race, all easy, cover a blind crest, and that's bad news. But very fortunate to escape.
Some things that we can't say on air probably said inside that cockpit when he saw that. But credit to Krickenberger. Look at this, 1.8 seconds now.
1.9. Let's go back to P7, because this is a little bit of a closer battle right now, and this involves Jacob Abrams under a lot of pressure, from Crocker, who might get a run out of this final quarter, because Abrams defended, but I think a slight mistake there.
That's awful position except for the 371 car a little bit back there that you see, but otherwise they're all fighting for what is effectively 7th place. Abrams down into the Andretti hairpin is going to stay safe for now, but another car struggling with a little bit of a wide line through that 180-degree corner. That allows Crocker to get right underneath that rear wing. Some blinking from Oviat behind them. His internet connection not faring well, and if he gets close, that can be an issue. Crocker still hounding Jacob. He doesn't defend, interestingly, so he feels pretty safe from that 777. Bit of a slide coming up through turn 5, and now they go uphill steeply towards turn 6. We heard this mentioned by Ryan earlier. Oh, big advantage, though, but off track there for Crocker. Can he save the car? He keeps it pointed forward, but look at all the time and positions he's losing. That was a...
He's so lucky there. He saw the gap on the outside, and Abrams was a bit slow through the kink, and Crocker tried to capitalize, but just no room out there to make that work, and wheel-to-wheel contact sends him out into the gravel. Does a good job to hold on to it, but now he goes back to P12 in the P10, and we go back to the battle for P12 just behind him.
There's a little bit of lap traffic in front of him. That's the car that was involved in the leader incident, ladder, the number 582. He's going to pull out of the way, maybe? Well, it looked like he was going to for a second. Heindel, who's dealing with Wassel. Remember, Wassel had a big spin, I think it was on lap 1 or 2, and was sent way down the order, so definitely has some speed. He qualified in 3rd, sitting in 13th, does not represent his pace well, and he's going to slip through the inside in the Andretti hairpin, making it look easy.
Sometimes all you need to do is pressure someone into a mistake, and you'll get the spot easy as that. So that battle resolves back there. And
behind
up
him
here,
too.
Oh yeah, no, behind, up the inside, that's an easy move too.
That was a
lap pretty close battle for P8.
So we watch Robon also try and overtake the lapped car, and that's going to slow him up. In fact, that's going to make it very awkward for everybody behind. In fact, no, that was Heindel initially passing, and then Robon did as well. Johnson, also in 15th, is going to manage to find his way through. So thankfully, that did not come to blows, but certainly was sketchy. Ooh, and that we had a car off there in the background. That's Scott Trieu. And the 113, that's for position. Big one coming off of Rainy Curve. Let's see how he got himself into this position. And through the corkscrew, everything looks fine so far. Oh, it looks like a hardware issue. Because that was a mysterious veer off to the right on a left-hand turn. So up in 4th place, Mueller and Lawrence still fighting. The 302, not quite for the podium. And we do have to keep our eyes on the leader as well because they have closed in. Let's keep the cameras on here for now, and I'll shout if Bluen makes a move.
He's under a lot of pressure now.
Oh, he is. Yeah, in fact, he took a look.
Here we go.
Not quite there, even though he had an attempt to come up the front stretch. Clearly, Connor is interested in it, and he doesn't want to sit around too long. And there's going to be more traffic in front of him. That's Jonathan Golden, who is actually in a battle with the number 96. I think that's Hollander.
Catching someone and passing someone, as we all know, are two very different things in motorsport and in sim racing. That rings just as true, Joe. Bloom's got to be careful at where he makes this move. Got to be careful about where the laps cars come up. There's 3 of them, 4 of them even, right in front of them on the racetrack. Even 5 starting to line up. So Krickenberger might get held up if he catches this laps car in the wrong place. That's Jim Slavic, who's going to keep it on the racing line, and Krickenberger's going to try to go by him. and he will. And Slavik does the right thing and just heads off the track there to get out of the way.
And of course, Peter Kajowski here trying to stay out of the way, but that's hard to do here in the corkscrew. Somehow he's going to keep the car off, and unfortunately he's going to clatter the wall in the process. Our leaders do get by unscathed. Then it's Golden up in front, staying to his racing line. Good heads up from our leader as Justin just scythes his way by.
And Bloom was the man who lost out in that little exchange. He had to avoid the car through the corkscrew on a very wide line and cost him about half a second to Krickenberger, who'd been loving that. He'll be hoping that happens a few more times, but it was very close trying to get by those laps cars. It wasn't easy for either of these drivers. Side by side for fourth place, almost.
Got Lawrence just barely ahead of the 387. Colin Queen putting some pressure on as we watch from the gearbox. He's going to cover him off on the entry into the Andretti hairpin. They now approach the traffic we just saw the leaders deal with. Is this going to be easier or harder for them? Kajowski along with, actually just got lapped by Mueller, it looks like, in the number 28. Oh, and Kajowski was off anyway, so they easily dispose of him. Thought Queen was going to go for it. It looks again as there's a small opening offered at the apex, but not quite willing to try and enter that narrow gap. Now up into turn 6, really making sure that Lawrence is feeling it here.
Look at the attitude on Lawrence's car through the kink there. He had that thing hanging out on the limit. I reckon we go back to the lead though here because they've caught another lapped car and they've closed back up. Krickenberger has to take to the pit lane to try and get by that lapped car of David Nyhoff. Somehow, it didn't cost him any time. He actually gained 2/10 through there. But Krickenberger is desperate not to let himself get held up, even from one corner behind any of these slower cars. Because Connor Bloom is right there with 10 minutes to go. He is hounding the back of him, right up behind him, almost alongside him through the Andretti hairpin.
You said it would take the drive of his life. I think Krickenberger is given that right now. 3/10 between them. And by the way, Mueller, 12.2 seconds behind, so he is not a threat. They are able to fight to the end at this rate. Less than 10 minutes to go. Still having to slice and dice through the traffic as pretty much, I guess, about 36 drivers still out there running currently. So there is a lot to deal with. And over the hill, not the best of runs through turn 6 for Krickenberger. Bloom starts to run him down a little bit, unless he's very brave. I don't think there's anything happening into the corkscrew, and Bloom is smarter than that. He holds back. Trio could offer up an opportunity. Oh, another little peek to the inside. Tries to chuck it in there, but he's chopped off as Krickenberger's having none of that.
Krickenberger is driving very well. He's not making any mistakes, and he's not letting Bloom throw the nose up the inside and give him the space as they squeeze by Scott Trio. Krickenberger runs a bit wide out in the grass and the dirt, and he's going to have to quickly cover off the inside. Connor Bloom right there on his rear bumper under those exhaust pipes, and he's going to move to the inside down into turn number 2. Laid on the brakes for Bloom, and he takes away the lead.
Gets it done. That took a long time, but that is the patience of a professional driver that you just saw. Incredible stuff from the number 95. Still a ways to go as we've got a few more laps, and well, you can see there's still traffic in the way, and that's Friedman.
All of them, they're both gone. Both leaders spin. Where's third?
Big hit for Bloom from more traffic coming into them. They get the cars moving, and where is Mueller? Bloom's still your leader, so no change.
There's Mueller at the bottom of your screen, that bright yellow machine. So somehow, Bloom still leads, with Krickenberger still right behind him.
Mueller's caught up to about 2.5 seconds back. Is that going to be enough for him to insert himself into the equation? Now down to less than 8 minutes to go. And I believe a lot of traffic, unfortunately, for Mueller behind them in the number 28. So that's going to hold him up and give a chance for both Krickenberger and Bloom to scamper away. Urban is now going to be a little bit of a thorn in the side of both of them. Bloom's looking for a space to get through. Is he going to lift and try to facilitate it? There he goes. Oh, and a little bit of contact, though, from Krickenberger. That's going to send Robin around. He manages to get the car out of the way before those behind get to him. Speaking of which, Lawrence and Mueller are going at it now for third place. It's not second that the number 28 is worried about. He's playing defense instead.
Now, the point I was going to make before they crash into the laps cars was it's not over with yet. Laps cars could still play a part. They sort of beat me to it with that, but the point still stands.
They were illustrating your
points. 6 minutes remaining. Yeah, still 6 minutes remaining. You never know. He's got the gap up to a second now, but I think you'll be a little bit more careful next time he approaches a laps car.
You would hope so. It seems that Krickenberger has not quite learned that lesson with him making some more contact with lapped drivers. As we continue to watch this fight, this is much closer here between third and fourth. Lawrence is doing what we saw Bloom doing before, just applying pressure, looking for an opening to present itself. Also had an issue with Queen back there. He's fallen to 10th. Colin, unfortunately, lost a couple positions with that one.
Hey, up front, Joe, look at this. Krickenberger got a big run out of the final corner. Does he go for the lunge? He doesn't. That was a big opportunity for Krickenberger to get himself back into the lead. He had a big run, and Bloom left the inside door wide open. Krickenberger didn't take it.
Fascinating that he didn't. I would have thought, as he gets a little wheel spin off of turn 3, that he'd be desperate to get that track position, knowing how fast Bloom is. As they continue to chase here, up to turn 5. Trio up in front of them once again. Of course, Trio unlapped himself after the wreck we saw before. We've also got a battle for 6 with Jacob Abrams being chased by the 477 car, who sadly is still nameless.
Bloom made a mistake. Bloom's lost a lead. Krickenberger's gone through. Bloom, he drops the car off the edge of the racetrack through the kink, out into the grass and the dirt, and Krickenberger needed no second invitation that time by.
Stays with him, but we're going to watch the replay because he's not got a chance to try and repass yet. There's the mistake. Looked like he caught the inside curb too much, yeah. Oh, and he's going to come back at him just now. If we come back live, he's managed to get side by side. Krickenberger's on the wrong side of the track too, the inside for Connor Bloom. And he's got a nose ahead now with more speed coming down the front stretch into the Andretti hairpin. He sends it into the corner and parts it at the apex, denying Justin a chance for the over-under.
It looks like Krickenberger doesn't quite have the confidence, it seems, to really go toe-to-toe with Bloom in terms of racecraft at the moment. Had an opportunity for a crossover, didn't go for it. I mean, obviously Bloom is a pro. Krickenberger's listed for us as an AM, so oh, that would have been a life flashing before their eyes scenario there. But yeah, Krickenberger just doesn't quite have that experience, it seems, to pull those racing maneuvers to really go at it with Bloom. He's relying on mistakes and lapped car drama. 3 minutes remaining, couple laps still to go. This battle is not over with, not by a long shot.
One thing sim racing can do that's a lot harder to come across in real life racing is, I think Krickenberger, he's got the speed. If he can get more experience here in the sim, and I feel he could be a threat for Connor Bloom this season, considering how much he's been a headache for that number 95. They come down on more of the traffic. Salehi down there. Bayan's just going to pull off to the side maybe. There he goes and lets them through. I think we're down to 2 laps to go this time across the line.
Next lap's car on the agenda as Michael Bolton as Krickenberger tries to use as much shaft as he could off the back of Salehi as he went by him. So these guys separate by a little bit. We'll go back to the battle for P4 on the racetrack. McLaughlin and Nelson Lawrence trying to chase him down using all of the racetrack on the entry of the corner.
Yeah, they've fortunately fallen away from Mueller, so the battle is between them. And, we got a big problem down to the Andretti hairpin. Abrams involved in that.
No.
He's going to get spun around. No, that's the 477 who loses it along with Nyhoff, rather. So that ends that battle, and we turn the cameras back to fourth place between the 301 and 302. Up the hill they go once again. Lawrence losing some ground with a poor exit off of turn 6, giving breathing space to McLaughlin this time. Back to our leaders. Oh my goodness, the lap traffic just not being fun for our leaders right now. Bloom having to make his way around the outside of Bolton there. We're going to take the white flag. Connor Bloom is the one that we expected to be a potential winner today, but he's certainly had a hard time of it. Some of it his own mistakes, some of it the very admirable and hard racing from Justin Krickenberger. Driver of the race for me really goes to Justin, grabbing an opportunity with both hands, even if he doesn't take the win. As we got and McLaughlin's off the track. McLaughlin may have had some contact here. Yes, he did. A little bit of blinking lights, and unfortunately, that preceded a little bit of contact as well. Next time I get some blinking lights from Lawrence, I think I might just get out of the way. Meanwhile, up to the corkscrew one last time. Bloom just has to be smooth for a few corners because Krickenberger's fallen back to about 9/10 behind. As long as he can keep it on the track, he should have this victory. 2 corners to go now through turn 10. Connor Bloom with an incredible fight today, up for the lead. He started on pole, but that's not the whole story here. The number 95 is going to be your winner here for the first round of the Porsche Owners Club eRacing League.
And what a battle between himself and Krickenberger all race along. Still plenty more drivers to come across the line, though.
Looks like Robinson had a little bit off there. Yeah. That's going to slot him down into 13th. That's with Oviat, who's having a few connection issues. Hopefully Oviat holds out for just half a more lap. Also, side by side into the corkscrew. This can be done. Johnson and Figuerin. Looks like Johnson's going to get the better of him. That gives him 15th place, but he's got to hold on to it for a few more corners.
Garian's pressuring him. He was behind him when they crossed the line last time. Still behind him into the final corner. Will he go for a big lunge? Will Johnson defend? He showed the nose. They both take a shallow line. Johnson late on the brakes will fend him off as they come down the main straight to the start-finish stripe. Johnson will claim P15 ahead of Figuerin in 16th.
Not much in the way of battles behind them. In fact, the last one to the line is going to be the last car on the lead lap, and that is Renning Bruns in the number 824 as he works his way across. So that's going to be our 30-minute first round. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around for more racing here on GSRC. Welcome back to Laguna Seca. It was a fascinating first race with Connor Bloom taking the win from pole, but it doesn't say it here. He swapped that lead a lot with Justin Krickenberger, and those two gave us a stunner. Behind them is the number 28, and apologies, I was calling the wrong driver on that. That is Nico Silva, who is driving that car, who rounded out the podium. Nielsen Lawrence, if I can get my mouth to work, managed to finish 4th from 10th on the grid. A good climb for him. And James McLaughlin finished in P5. Jacob Abrams was P6, with 7th going to the 477 car. Rob Crocker was P8, and Michael Wassell climbed back from his early incident to finish 9th. Colin Queen went a little bit downwards today and rounds out your top 10.
P11 across the stripe in the end went the way of Alan Sad, Eric Oviatt behind him. Matthew Robinson, Dustin Heindel, and Christopher Johnson rounded out your top 15. We saw Johnson and Figuerin in that battle towards the end of the race. Eric Walsh running Burns 17th and 18th. Top 20 was rounded out by the first cars lap down, Michael Bolton and Bayan Salehi.
Then from there on down, you have drivers who finished a lap down or more were off pace, and a couple DNFs at the very end. Of course, we have our second place finisher ready to talk to us, Justin Krickenberger, who we certainly enjoyed racing. Justin, we heard a comment from Ryan at one point during the broadcast. He said it's going to take the race of his life to hold back the charging Connor Bloom. And boy, you gave it to us. That was awesome to watch.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, that was a pretty exciting race. I really enjoyed it.
It looked like it was enjoyable. What was going through your mind once you found yourself going by Connor and realized you had the lead? Did your resolve kind of set in immediately? You thought, I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep him back there? Or was it kind of this will be great if I can take it, but I just want to get to the end sort of thing?
Well, at the time I passed him, traffic was really starting to become an issue. So at that point, my goal was just to try to put as many cars between us as possible.
Now, obviously, this series involves a lot of drivers who get to race together in real life in Porsches. Have you gotten to race against Connor before in person, or is here in the virtual world your first time to go toe-to-toe with him?
This is my first time going toe-to-toe with him in the virtual world and in the real world. I just recently moved out to the Porsche Owners Club area from Texas, and I'm coming from Spec Miata into the Spec Boxster group. So there are quite a few people that were on that I do race against in real life.
That had to have been a lot of fun to get to do that. Well, again, congratulations. Is there anybody you'd like to thank who made this second place possible for you today?
Just my daughter and wife. They were sitting here watching it and cheering me on, so that always helps.
I bet it does. Gives you a few tenths every lap, I'm sure. And that was Justin Krickenberger's second place finisher here for round one. Up next, Nico Silva joins us, where Ryan's going to talk to him about his race.
How's it going, guys?
Not bad. Good evening, Silva. You came across in third place, or so we believe, coming up as admin onto the timing screens. Talk us through your race.
Oh, it was a wild one. We were doing okay, but then as lap traffic started to get in, it started to make it pretty challenging, especially with some of the carnage of like cars coming on track, being braking or doing stuff in places they shouldn't. So it did make it for some exciting racing, and the whole time I was just trying to keep the car on track in one piece and keep from doing mistakes.
Yeah, and obviously, so what's your experience in real world with the Porsche Owners Club? You do the racing for them in real world, and what car do you drive? What difference is it when you come sim racing?
So with the Porsche Owners Club, I do private coaching with some of the members, and that's how I got into this. The
Okay.
reason why I even got the admin role was I met Matt who is the guy who put this all together. So thank you, Matt Hollander, so much for putting this all together, and the POC for having me to be part of this. And so he asked me to be the admin because of all the experience I have with the sim racing in terms of just setting it up and everything. So I was just doing as a second hand, helping out and whatnot. But going to the second question, well, in the real world. I race cars in Europe. Last year I raced with the Aston Martin GT4 and the GT4 Southern European Series, and I did the 24 Hours of Barcelona
Oh,
in the GT4. Yeah, and so making the jump into sim racing when that's the only thing you can do was very interesting because you don't have the butt feel that you do in the race car. You lose quite a bit of sense, and so you have to heighten and practice some of the other ones like awareness and just feeling through the feedback and visual awareness as well.
yeah, so something I talked about during the race. It's one of the biggest talking points you often hear is that lack of a butt feel through the car. But I think you adapted pretty well. Heading towards, there's still 3 more rounds left this inaugural season. I assume we'll see you back for all 3. You're looking to progress further up, maybe start challenging Connor Bloom up front.
Yeah, I wish I could challenge him more. Me and Connor are good friends, and he's a really quick driver. And it'd be nice if for the next couple of races we can challenge each other for the championship because I think we can produce some fun racing.
Well, I'll look forward to it. Before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to or any sponsors or anything like that?
Yeah, my real world sponsors. So I would like to thank first of all, I would like to thank again the POC and Matt Hollander for putting this all together and making such a great um, sim league on iRacing. iRacing for having a great program to practice and race on. And then my sponsors, CSDS Aircraft, New Gen Aerospace, um, and then my other sponsors, PH2 Nutrition, who I work really well with for my nutritional needs. Liquory Paris, my clothing sponsor. They make some really great Porsche merch. Heel Thread makes some of those awesome car-inspired socks, and Cambox Mecca. They make the really cool POV camera. So hopefully that wasn't too NASCAR for you guys.
Not a problem. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we get to chat to you next time. Good luck.
I appreciate it. Have a great night.
That was third place finisher Nico Silva. We've actually heard quite a few sponsor reads like that before here in the virtual world. But up next, fourth place, just off the podium, Neil Lawrence joins us, who also had some good fights. Neil, I have to imagine that racing out here in the virtual Laguna Seca is probably a good escape from the snows of Colorado right now.
Yeah, you have no idea. It's pretty cold out here.
I actually do. I'm up in Fort Collins myself, so it's glad to see another Coloradoite out here racing. This is a fantastic performance. It seems like there's a lot of talent up at the top. We were talking to Nico just before. Do you feel like you can bring anything up to guys like Connor Bloom, because they certainly look on another level?
Yeah, Connor Bloom is really quick. I didn't really qualify kind of where I wanted to, but I'm hoping as the season progresses and I get more seat time, I can bring a couple tenths to the table and challenge him.
Of course, it seems like a lot of drivers are trying to adapt to this sim world racing. How much experience have you had doing sim racing? Is this some of your early delving into it, or have you been doing this for a while?
I've been doing this for a while. When I was in school in Charlotte, North Carolina, this is all I had. I was getting home to race maybe once or twice a year, so this played big dividends into my real driving career.
Well, awesome stuff. It certainly seems to have helped you get a good finish today. And before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank? I know it's not a podium finish, but still, out of a field of over 40 cars, this has got to feel pretty good.
Oh yeah, this was a great finish. Coming up from 10th. Yeah, I'd like to thank my dad and my mom back home in California, my sister and my friends out in North Carolina. They supported me through this whole thing back when I was actually hanging out with them at school. So it's really cool to be able to have them watch. So
I bet it is. And hopefully they enjoyed the show today. That was Neil Lawrence, who finished fourth out there. And Ryan, I believe you've caught up with the man we heard earlier organize this thing, Matt Hollander.
Yeah, good evening to you once again, and Matt. Looks like a pretty crazy race out there for a lot of drivers in the field. How was it for you?
It was an interesting evening. The lap traffic definitely caused some interesting racing, but to be expected with some of the guys coming up from our like autocross and time trial and PDS series. So it made it fun.
Certainly that's a lot of fun out there, and as the man responsible for setting all this up here on iRacing with us here at the Global SimRacing Channel, how happy are you with the response to this first round, and looking forward to the rest of the season and maybe future seasons?
Well, I was absolutely shocked by the amount that we had come together. Wanted to participate in this series. I really want to say thank you to all of us. And for anyone out there that's looking to maybe join the series, go to PorscheClub.com. You can find our Sim Racing League tab on there. Just send me a request, and we'd love to have anyone that has some type of racing or sim experience join the league.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Matt, for having a little chat to us, and hopefully we get to see the lead grow over the next few rounds and into the future. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was Matt Hollander, and one of our admin drivers looks like he wound up in 7th in that number 477 car here today. But we're going to thank a few people along with all these sponsors that you see on your screen. We also have to mention Octavio Tequila. Again, their motto is celebrate now. Make sure and check them out. And also thank you goes out to Century Financial Consultants, making the rest of your life the best of your life. Big thanks to the Porsche Owners Club for bringing us on for the coverage. We're looking forward to this season. And a thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Sean, Ryan, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media on Twitter with @GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store linked below. It's gsrc.storenv.com. And while you're there, make sure and subscribe to the channel just by clicking that big red button you see under the video that says subscribe. The next race, we're going to race a Roval, but it's not like you're used to at Charlotte. It's the Las Vegas Roval. That'll be Saturday, April 25th at 10:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.